Well, welcome back to the show, Josh.
Yeah. Welcome back. What kind of show are we on today anyway, Josiah?
We've got a great show. Welcome to the community. This is the podcast devoted to home service businesses who desire to make an impact while making an income. Each week, we will hear real stories from brave individuals who decided to do it their way and start a business.
Yeah.
Boom.
Welcome to the show. Hey, if you're kingdom-minded, if you've got a desire to live your life, to make an impact while you're here, kind of the way we spell impact out is making this life better than you found it. And there's no way better to make life better than to talk about Jesus. And so we want to invite you, to invite your friends to be here at the community. Our kind of goal is to set on fire or help promote kingdom-minded entrepreneurs to start a home service business, specifically pressure washing, related window cleaning, Christmas lights, and things that we know a little bit more about than carpet cleaning.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there like that, and it can feel like you're a lone wolf and there's no one else around you that's trying to do the same thing. So we definitely want to get you connected in that way.
Yep. And Josiah, do you have a little bit of news that you need to share? This will be the last time we see you until a new event takes place.
Yeah, I am leaving the company.
Yep. And we're happy about it.
I'm leaving in 2 days. Well, shoot, I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks because I am having a baby.
Yeah, having a bambino on Friday. And so that's going to be March 15th. So whenever you're listening to this, he's probably already had a baby for a couple of weeks.
So don't call me. If you're inside the company, don't call me. I'm not going to answer.
I think I'll not call you.
Josh will pick up the phone.
I'll if I need to. Hey, today we've got an individual who I met at the BBB, which stands for
Business, Bourbon, and BS.
Which I'm not big on bourbon personally, and I have a Nazarene background, so I try not to
BS.
I try, and then I need to know a lot about business. And if that's you, you are going to meet an individual today who's going to share a little bit about marketing, growing a business. We're going to ask him some fun questions.
I think he's starting a war or something like that.
Yeah, he's starting a war somewhere, so we're going to find out what war he's going to be embarking on. But before we get into all that, should we just let him on the show?
Yeah, let's just bring him in.
I was wondering if there was one other subject matter that we needed to discuss. Brady not being here. Is that important?
No.
The
season's kicking off. It's March.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, so we got Brady inside of a sales vehicle trying to knock out.
Selling right now.
We had 2 transitions that took place on the sales team, and that's kind of why Brady's not here.
Yeah, so a whole new sales team this year.
Yeah, and they're and we didn't want the other ones to go. One of them's moving out of town, and the other one took a 6-figure-ish job. And
he's back though.
He will be back before you know it. All right. Hey, with no further ado, John, would you come on into the show?
What is going on, guys?
Hey, welcome out, and we're going to jump right into why someone should listen to you. So would you mind sharing a little bit about your credentials and your story as it relates to the cleaning business?
Yeah, so my story kind of starts, my cleaning business, this is our 12th year in business now, and started sort of part-time, and my story kind of goes like, we personally, as we were starting the business, we were in a mountain of debt. And I don't use that term lightly. Personally, we were $163,000 in debt, and that did not include our mortgage. So vehicle loans, student loans, and the majority of it was credit cards. Wow. And it was just terrifying and embarrassing. And as a leader of my household, I felt like I failed my family. So through our journey, I felt broken and realized that I needed to fix this. Like, this is not a way to lead my family. It's not a good example. So, fortunately, my wife and I, we got together and acknowledged that this is an issue, that we need to tackle head on. And within the span of 22 months after determining this was a problem, we cleared that $163,000 in debt. And we got a chance to come down to Nashville on Dave Ramsey's radio show, and as a family with our kids, scream, "We're debt free."
Oh, that's
And
so cool.
that was one of the top 5 experiences, I think, of my lifetime as a family unit. Just for what it meant. Like, we literally drew a line in the sand and said, this is what our family stands for, and we fight together as a family. And so that's kind of the personal side, right? Like, we kind of
That's so
battled
good.
that. We battled that. And, because of your audience, I definitely want to share something that stuck to me as it relates to debt. And it was a book that Bill Hybels wrote. It's called Simplify. And I was going through that during this whole get out of debt journey. It was sort of like we were trying to figure out a Bible study type thing to work through with a couple other guys at our church. And I just happened to pick this book up and was scrolling through it. And he's talking about finances and debt. And he had a statement in there that just struck me to the core. And it said, God did not save you from your sins for you to be burdened by the chains of debt for the rest of your life. So that just, like, man, he made the ultimate sacrifice for me, but yet I am, like, burdening myself with this weight of this debt, and it's self-inflicted, right? So I got the ultimate gift over here, but then I'm squandering that gift with this debt. So that sort of dichotomy just,
Wow.
it spoke to me. And that's what really lit the fire under me to get this done. So that's my personal side. So where's the business end come in here? Through that journey, because we started being good stewards and focusing on our, managing what God has blessed us with, we had some really fantastic people speak into our lives from the business perspective, which really helped us launch and accelerate that debt payoff. And I had some really good mentors speak into my life, some coaches, over probably the last, I'd say, 5 years of our business journey, really just leaned into us. And, so all that to say, now my business, last year, we did a $450,000 month last year, which was pretty awesome. And my involvement in the business during that month, I worked 10 hours that whole month.
Wow.
So hired a COO last year. He's running the day-to-day operations. I've built a team around me. We've got salespeople. I've got an operations manager, office manager, and the COO. So all that to say, I've built out an organization that can run without my, daily input. I'm still there as the leader and the visionary to kind of guide the long-term big picture vision. And I enjoy that. But on the day to day, I don't need to be there managing things. So, I think that hopefully helps, give a little bit of social proof that I've been able to build a reasonably successful business. And, hopefully people will listen to what I have to say today.
Awesome. There's a couple of things that I heard you say, and one of them was you had $163,000 in debt, and this was before you started the business?
This was right around the time that we did start the business.
If someone is listening to your story and they needed a piece of advice, and because when you're in debt 163,000, you come to the weight of the decisions that you made and how it affects your family. What piece of advice would you give someone that is in that similar situation on how they can get out of it?
It was, Dave Ramsey used the term, you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we got to that point where we were just done. Like, we were disgusted that it even got to that point. So there's some people have different tolerances as it comes to debt. But if you're in that similar boat and like you're done with it, you got to I recommend getting some sort of community behind you. And if you're married, like you and your spouse have to be on the same page with it, because, if I'm transparent, my wife will tell you, she'll be the first one to tell you, I was on board with this whole thing probably 8 to 10 months before she was. I had to like wait for her to be on board for it to actually work.
Hmm.
And we worked together as a team. And then as a team, we were showing our children that mom and dad work together, and this is why. We made sacrifices, and it was tough. It was a tough 22 months. We really cut down on the amount of times we went out to eat. We didn't really take vacations. We lived very, very frugally for those 22 months, but it was on purpose. And
Wow.
as the process goes, we followed the Dave Ramsey, program, to be clear, but we went through the Financial Peace University that he has. We ended up leading the class because that's just the way we are, right? We couldn't find one that fit our schedule. So we're like, all right, we'll just lead the class. Well, that's convenient for us. Then we can have the class when it fits for our schedule. We ended up leading the first class at our church, and there was I think there was 46 people that went through that class.
Wow.
And I think we've done it 9 times since then. But like, just plug in with the community. I mean, any of those, I'm not here to like plug Dave Ramsey, but it worked well for us. And so if you've never heard of him, if you've never tried it before, definitely look up that if you're feeling lonely, because the program provides some community and some good guidelines to walk through.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Great job. Congratulations. I feel like with you saying 40 individuals on your first, which means there's probably been 100 people that you have led through Financial Peace University.
Yep.
And so understanding a season of sacrifice and learning to kill the desire to purchase is something that you've become, I guess, a professional at, or
a lot better than I was. We'll leave it at that.
Well, congratulations to you.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a second because we've got a phenomenal opportunity for you. If you've been thinking about opening your own pressure washing company, I'd like to invite you to a free webinar. There we'll talk about the pros and cons of opening a pressure washing, and you'll get to chat with our team about whether or not you should launch a pressure washing company in your city or not. To register for this free event, go to pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down to the little registration button, it's blue, and click on it, and we'll take care of the rest. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Now back to our show.
You also mentioned that you had a $450,000 month. What month was that in?
That was in November.
Yeah.
I could have guessed that.
Yeah, I was wondering what it was.
That's I think I don't want to breeze past what you just said. You went from $165,000 in debt roughly to a $450,000 month in revenue by only working 10 hours. That whole month?
Yep, that's
right.
right.
A week. The whole month? That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I want to dive more into that. What is that, like a 10-year time frame ish?
It was, let's see, if I think back, that was 8 years.
Yeah, congratulations for sure on that. Remind everyone what city and state you're in.
I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So we're about an hour north of Philadelphia.
So hour north of Pennsylvania. Here's a question I have for you to start off everything with. Now we're getting right into the good stuff.
Yeah.
Could you do it all over again, exactly where you're at, if you started today, knowing everything that you know, but not using any relationships or networks that you currently have?
Ooh, this is like that. What is it? Undercover millionaire question, right?
Right.
That's it. I want to say yes. And I feel like I could do it faster. Because, right, like we've learned lessons. We've learned some painful lessons along that journey that we know, yeah, we're not going to do that again. We've touched the hot stove and we know we're not going to do that again. Right. So, man, I wanted, the prideful side of me is like, yeah, I know better now. Right. But then it's ultimately like, well, what's the Lord have in store for me? I don't know. Like maybe if I were to go out and fail miserably, maybe I'd have these other lessons that would then like catapult me to my next success? I don't know. So
Yeah, John, here's my struggle. If someone were to ask me that, I would be aloof. I would not know how to answer the question. And it's directly connected to the people we've met along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't manufacture the experiences and the people that I've met over the last, 7.5, 8 years. And so when you think back on your story of 12 years, think about the key individuals at certain places, at certain times, certain networks. And it's like, I don't know if I could recreate that experience. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think my line of thinking with that, and I get what you're hearing. I think my line of thinking is though, like, rather than recreating it, is there another alternative that maybe has a better outcome or equivalent outcome, but you just get there a different way? And maybe you find a different individual that takes you down a different road that you weren't anticipating, but really the outcome is completely like more than you actually ever considered.
Yeah, so good. Now you run a pressure washing business, soft washing, right?
Correct. And Christmas lights.
And Christmas lights. If you, let's just say theoretically, if you had to start all over again, what are like the three main things that you're focusing on to get back to where you are today? I know all the different variables, but like the three main things that you would put your energy into. What are those things?
Well, let me quantify this a little bit. Do I have my market established already? Is it in my market, or am I getting dropped in a different location?
Same spot, same place.
Same spot, and I lost everything, and I sold it all, and I had to start over.
Yeah, you sold it. You signed a disclosure. You're not allowed to compete or utilize any of your team members, your clients. You can tap into your vendors, like the ones that you purchase equipment and soaps and stuff like that from. And so the question Josiah is asking is, what are the three things you're doing tomorrow to recreate it better than it was at the beginning?
Man, see, and that's a really good question, because as I sit here now, right, I just look like my role in the business right now is more high level, like looking visionary, like long-term stuff of growth.
You're going back on the truck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, man, I got to think of all those elements now, right? Because it's like, okay, we could break it down to a couple simple things, right?
You're coming to a boot camp to Nashville.
Yes, right. Hopefully I remember most of the technical stuff. I'm not that far removed that I can still like shake the rust off, if you will. But I think really it comes down to just a couple key components, right? You need to find an audience that wants to buy your service, and you need a method of delivering that service and a way of collecting payment. So I need a bank account. I need a pool of people to potentially need my service, and I need a way of delivering that. So I think those are the things I would focus on like immediately. It's like, okay, I need a bank account, right? That's kind of obvious, but we need a bank account, right? We got a place to store all the money and pay the bills. So, yeah. And then as far as like the pool of people to buy from, it's like, okay, how did we start? Right? Thinking back 12 years ago when I started, friends and family. Okay, what do we got? Who needs this? And then who do you know that needs this? And then just work out from there, rather than just like launching this fancy Google ads campaign or all these fancy, Facebook digital ads and all that stuff. Like, yes, you could do that. But from my background with being in all that debt, like, you don't have brand recognition. So like your best bet is to just boots on the ground, guerrilla marketing from the get-go. It was one of the questions my COO asked me when he came on board. He's like, we were trying to build our commercial division. And when I first started the business, commercial was 65% of what we did. And then over the years it swung, and we're only doing about maybe 15% in commercial. And he asked me, he's like, well, what did you do? Like, what worked when you were out doing it? And I said, literally going around knocking on doors and asking if they needed a quote or needed work done. Like, that's it. I went to hotels, apartment complexes, found property managers for shopping centers. Those were like the three main customer avatars. So again, like, just getting out there, knocking on doors, not being afraid to hear no.
Yeah, that's encouraging to, a lot of guys out there who are starting a business, that you got this guy who's doing $450K a month and last year, and the things that he would focus on are the foundational things. The foundational, get a bank account, knock on some doors, and don't be afraid to be told no. Like, this is the basics. And knowing that's encouraging to everyone who's starting a business. You don't need to know all the secret sauce, you know?
When I hear guerrilla warfare, is that blowing up all the other pressure washing companies' trucks? Is that part of guerrilla warfare?
Flashing some tires.
I mean, I guess, no, that's, we don't go down that road.
You pour surfactant into their water tanks. Josh has been out for too long. He's not getting it.
Yeah, I get it. Because it leaves little marks on the windows. When you rent, it's done. You get your reputation's done.
Yep.
That is a great idea, by the way.
Yep.
We should do all the things that, like, there's Avengers and then there's the other group.
Oh yeah. Like,
with the girl and stuff like that.
Squad.
What's it called?
Something squad. I don't know.
Suicide Squad. Yeah. So we should have like a suicide pressure washing series where it's like all the things that you would do
to sabotage.
Yeah. That's horrible though. That's a different channel, a different person.
Yeah, definitely different channel.
But it's fun to think about,
That's fun. And the reason, John, we're asking all these questions are we are moving up to Pennsylvania to plant a location. So I appreciate you sharing.
Absolutely, guys. I hear there's a good one for sale, actually. So if you're interested.
Hey, there we go. All right.
Are you selling your business? Is that what you just told me?
Look, it's always that's the long-term play.
For sale. Yeah.
It's a long-term play. So I want to build a business that is marketable. Is ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah. What business would that be? Your business?
Yes.
Yeah. And right now, what did you do last year in revenue?
We did 1.9 million last year in revenue.
And do you know what your EBITDA is?
We're percentage or dollars?
Dollars.
We did, because I brought on this high dollar COO last year, we did about 380 in EBITDA. So not great, but it's a building year for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long do you think you'll be building until it's like really where you want it to be?
My anticipation is the end of next year.
Wow. Do you have some other who's that you're trying to wrap inside of that to sell it to like private equity or something?
Yeah, and like the whole private equity thing there's a lot of talk in that space right now, right? And like home service is hot. So it's like, I don't know how long it's going to be hot for. So that has me, that's a big unknown for me. I guess I could say it that way. So I want to get it. I want to achieve that as quickly as possible because obviously we don't want to miss the boat, right? We don't want to miss the housing bubble, if you will. Sure. You don't want to be on the other side of it. So
what do you think is causing it to be so hot right now?
Well, I'm not an expert by any means in this space, but the little bit of knowledge I know and I have in it is, COVID was a big driver of it, that, it was an essential service for the most part. Like, it was deemed an essential service. And when people are always looking to improve and maintain their homes, like that's not something that's really going to go away. So yeah, like people throw around the term like it's a luxury service, if you will, because it's not a necessity.
Sure.
But if you think about it too, from a standpoint of the market, if there's a downturn in the market, people who can afford a luxury service aren't usually as affected as much by a downturn in the market. So your clientele you're not losing a ton of your customer base when there is a downturn in the market.
Sure.
I will, add to a little bit of thoughts on it. it's almost like there's a time that people didn't know that you could pressure wash or soft wash a house. And the more people that are getting their house washed, the more awareness and socially acceptable, and almost like it's the normative, where it's like, yeah, of course you go to a car wash to get your car washed. When 10 years ago, you would probably wash your own car the majority of the time. And from what I can tell is in the next 7 to 8 years, we're supposed to go from $1.1 billion as an industry in North America to $2 billion. And so I feel like it's hot, and it sure does seem like it's going to be hot for a while. But at the same time, who knows? You know, it could be like Bitcoin or Doge coins. And
although Bitcoin's up again, so you just got to wait it out, apparently.
There you go.
I think you just wait it out.
When I first started my own pressure washing business, I did not know what soft washing was, nor did I know marketing, sales, or even how to manage my finances.
Take the guesswork out of it. We have taken all of the knowledge we've gotten and wrapped it into video courses. It's a 7-figure blueprint for a pressure washing company that you can get at pressurewashingpastor.com. Go there, scroll down to video courses, and purchase it. We guarantee you'll get the value or your money back.
So go ahead and click pause, head over to the website. Now, unclick pause and back to your show. So got a question for you. In a competitive market, what's your secret to standing out and becoming the go-to choice for homeowners in your services?
Social proof is huge. I think I would lean heavily on that as my main focus. Competitive markets, people want to know that you're trusted and they can trust you. So social proof by way of reviews, online Google reviews, testimonials, anything you can build up that builds that proof that you are trusted in your market above all others, and like by a large margin. If you can gain a big gap in your Google reviews from any of the other competitors in your market, that's really going to help you stand out. Because and you got to think from a buyer's perspective. Like, what are things that a potential customer would be concerned about, and try to speak to those fears and concerns. So one of them is like, can I trust these people? Well, if you've got social proof, if you've got 560 Google reviews, 5-star Google reviews, and your next nearest competitor has 40, it's pretty
It's hard to compete with that.
It's pretty substantial proof. Yeah.
I think the saying is people do business with those they like, know, and trust. Is that the saying? So
Yeah.
It sounds like that's kind of what you're recommending is building, a trustworthiness in front of your community and your audience. And that can be through Google reviews, testimonials, getting out in the community. I feel like just being seen, doing something other than just washing,
Right.
can build to your overall reputation and the investments that your company has inside your own market.
Yeah, I mean, the community service stuff's great. Like, I know, back during the crazy months of COVID, we went out and we had a campaign where we just went and sanitized and washed every playground in the area that we could find.
Oh, that's cool.
And we put it, this was like early COVID, like before everybody, like, I would
Understood
say
it.
the first like 3 weeks of it, right? It was just this
Sure.
big push, and we just wanted to get out there and help. And so we'd asked, like, okay, because obviously, like, we want permission. We don't want to just show up at some random place and start
Sure.
washing the playground and people start, getting mad at us. But so like we got like a lot of support from the community and saying, like, this is fantastic. Here's the contact for this school district.
Oh, that's so good. You're getting property manager contact information. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. That's a great idea.
Municipalities and all that stuff. So it was really, really good. But again, like, it goes back to what I said earlier. And Josiah, you said, like, what is like the basics? Why did we stop that? Why was that just a COVID thing?
Sure.
We should do that annually.
Sure.
and go out and just wash these playgrounds, because look, they get grimy and dirty and kids get boogers all over them, right? Like
Right.
they need to get cleaned up and nobody cleans them. So if we just do that and bake that into our process, and we got a natural dip in the middle of the summer, go out and do it, or do it in the early springtime when we're kind of shaking the rust off and ramping things up. So yeah, just being out in the community, that's a huge part of it for sure.
As you're chatting, how as you get older, sometimes you're thinking like 4 questions ago. I guess nobody does except for me. When you're the only one like shaking your head yes, and everyone else is going, no, this is that moment. Okay. Hey, I was thinking like if I had to do it all over again, so I'm still there. Okay. I would want a coach that taught me mindset that yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it, because like belief is so powerful. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm like, what would I have to do to get into the ring with a Mike Tyson of the 80s? And it was like, I would need someone to convince me that I was able to walk through walls and to be able to accomplish any goals. The mindset is such an important part of growing and scaling up a successful pressure washing company. Is that true for you? And can you identify times in your life where you had coaches come into your life that helped you with your mindset? And if so, what were 1 or 2 of those situations?
I agree on that whole concept of mindset. It is very, very important. And it really was a pretty key part of our growth overall, because it's sort of like you don't know what you don't know as well when you're trying to grow. So in that regard, you need somebody to be able to speak into you of like, I had no idea that a $450,000 a month was possible a couple of years ago, right? Like we weren't even doing that in an entire year. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm going to do that in a month. Okay. Right. That's all mindset. It's belief.
Yeah.
But being able to see other people, I think, and companies who have accomplished that, maybe if they're not even in your space, that's fine. But just to see that it's like the 4-minute mile. And you think back to the whole Roger Bannister and the 4-minute mile, like nobody thought it was possible. He did it. And then all of a sudden a ton of people started doing it. Right. It's just it's that belief. So I think mindset and belief kind of go hand in hand in that regard, where maybe you have some self-limiting beliefs, your background, you just don't think you just started the business just to make a couple extra bucks. And like, that's all your focus was. But in reality, like you're capable of doing way, way more than that, but you don't know that yet. You don't have that belief inside you that that's possible. So yes, totally agree. Like a mentor or a coach to speak into that, especially in the early days, can really catapult you.
I think I heard a study the other day, and they said the number 1 common trait between the most successful people it was self-awareness. And that was the number 1 trait that they found in all these successful people. And I think it's interesting how being self-aware, you immediately think of like all the negative things that you're like, oh, I should be self-aware of like the things that I'm not good at. But being self-aware inside of this situation, this conversation of those limiting mindsets, like if we're self-aware, we can realize we are capable of so much more than what we're doing already. And we need those people around us to constantly speak life and truth and encouragement into what we're doing and what we're good at and what our strengths are. And so the coaches go both ways, both good and bad.
Yeah. And we, like you, John, we have webinars that we do every Monday on how to start and scale a pressure washing company. And the number 2 thing on the list on what I would do, number 1 is order a market analysis. I don't know if I would start a business without first doing my market research. But number 2, I'd get coaching. I would find somebody or a network that are who and where I want to be in the future. And I would ask them, how much does it cost? And I would pay whatever cost it is to put myself around people that think outside the box. Do you remember the first time that you met Oh, help me out. Mike Dalkey.
Yes.
And how long ago was it?
I want to say that was 5 years ago.
Did you know about performance-based pay before Mike?
Not sure that I did.
And did you know about performance-based pay after you met Mike?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And so they reached out prior to him moving to Spring Hill in Nashville. And I ended up, he basically asked me, have you ever considered performance-based pay? And I kind of like, yes, but not really, because I was stuck in the way that I currently thought. But within about 4 months, I think I met in October, but by the time March got here, we were moving to performance-based pay. And if you do what smart people do, that's probably pretty smart. And not doing what smart people do is probably not very smart. Why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing. The winter time will make you rethink everything you once knew. I'll say
Yeah.
it'll make you rethink your whole business.
Well, it depends on what position you serve in the business.
Sure.
And so if you're a technician,
Oh yeah, you're living the good life.
yeah. And if you are a business owner and everything is performance-based pay, the winter time is like more safer
Oh yeah.
for the business owner.
Yeah.
For the
See why
technician.
that decision was made in March.
Yeah. And so anyway, sorry, we just ranted for a second on performance-based pay. But it really goes to speaking, meeting people along the way that taught you things you didn't know, that help you got to places you couldn't get without them.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to that. Before the show, we were talking about this past year, maybe some of the challenges that you faced. Would you feel comfortable maybe sharing one of your most recent challenges and how you are working through it or how you got through it in your business?
Sure. Yeah. So we had a really solid team of field technicians probably for the last 3-4 years. Like we had some tenured guys that were just like really rock solid. We promoted them up. We had a training manager. We had a fleet manager out of it. So it was all, it was really good. We were kind of going into, so like, just how you talked about like the winter time, right? Like we'd go through winter time and it was like, okay, we knew we had this core group that we didn't have to rebuild every single year. Well, that changed this year. Unfortunately, we had lost both of them. And, you guys are talking about kind of hinting at your sales team, right? So like we kind of went through that with our technicians here, and our two most seasoned lead technicians, they both kind of went their own separate ways for better opportunities. And we found ourselves kind of sitting here at the start of the season, like, okay, this is going to be a rebuild year for our field team. But we really, I was talking through this with my wife, and she brought some really good perspective to it because she's sort of involved in the business with me as well, kind of on the HR side of it. So she's definitely knows like from onboarding and bringing new hires in and stuff like that. She said, think back to when we had 2 trucks and we had our current operations manager running 1 truck, and we had another guy by the name of John, not me, another guy who we thought was going to be with us for the long haul. And he decided to change his mind and wanted to go become an automotive technician. And we thought it was the end of the world. Like we thought our business was going to just die, right? Because it was like, oh, we relied so much on this guy. Like it just made it easy. And then it was fine. We posted a job ad and we found some really solid, a really, really solid guy to replace him. And so when we just went through this, like losing both of these key employees, these key lead technicians, my wife just kind of put it in perspective and said, John, we've been here before. It's just a different scale. It's just a different season, but we've been here before. And, what did we do last time? Right? She took it back down to the basics. I said, we prayed and we trusted that the Lord was going to help us rebuild this. Like the Lord built this business. We didn't. We contributed to it. But realistically, the Lord built this for us to use as a vehicle to bless others and hopefully be a, a good beacon to the community. And so she really put it in perspective. I was like, man, you're absolutely right. Like, why am I stressing out about this? Like, this is a great opportunity because we can rebuild, and we can touch more people. We can, reach more people now, a new set of people, bring them in. And so I got really excited about it, actually. Like, I went from really stressing out about it for like a day or two to, man, this is a fantastic opportunity. So I had the went in, talked to our leadership team about it, because I think everybody was kind of feeling the same thing I was for the first day or two, right? Like, oh gosh, we got to rebuild all this. Like, it's the start of the season. Like, how's this going to work? We're going to be scrambling. And so far, to my knowledge, we have brought on 6 new employees, field technicians, within the course of 5 weeks. And, they're progressively starting here over the next 2-3 weeks. And the reports I'm getting is that we've got some really good talent that shows some real promise, and some go-getters in the mix here. So yeah, it's a rebuild year for us, but I think I just challenge anybody who maybe is going through that or has experienced that before, to try to reframe your perspective on it. And don't look at it as a try. I mean, it's a trial either way, right? But it's a matter of how you respond to it and how you look at it. So I looked at it as an opportunity after my wife spoke into me and reminded me, the proper perspective to be looking at things in. And, but once I reframed it as an opportunity, man, I got really excited about it. So, yeah, it was a tumultuous. Is that how you say it?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I don't say things I can't spell.
Yeah. I don't know why that word just popped in my head.
That's why he doesn't speak a lot.
Love it. It was a rough couple days, but once I sort of had some peace about it and reframed my perspective, it changed my whole attitude towards it.
Wow! Shout out to your wife.
Shout out.
Absolutely.
Back.
Phenomenal woman.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. But head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
John, one question I've been asking lately of guys who bring up their wives being part of their business is whether or not their wives would be up for a meeting with our wives as well. And we do some YouTube podcast on from the other side, where we end up asking questions of the sacrifices. Man, I can almost cry when you end up asking about the sacrifices and the belief and the hard times and the good times from their perspective. Would your wife be one of those individuals that would be up for, if we all, and Brady and his wife, all met on a future show?
Yeah, I think that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. And I mentioned that to Sid, and he said, McGrath, and he said he doesn't know if anybody's ever done a couples podcast. And I'm like, well, there you go. Yeah. Because the spouse is often missed. And when you just shared your story, she's your rock, you know, and in a lot of companies, they're the integrators for guys that have a vision, but they maybe lack some of the steps and follow through on making sure emails get sent and invoices get paid. And so I would love to invite you and your wife on the future podcast.
I think that'd be great. I'd love that.
Hey, we're coming near the end of the show, and I want to get into what you foresee happening over the course of the future. And so one of the last questions, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but as you forecast on things that are taking place in the home service business, pressure washing, what do you foresee happening in the future in this industry?
I think a lot of your success is going to come down to really boil down to customer service. And the technology that we have as business owners, at our fingertips, and I feel like it's evolving rapidly, like by the month, right? With AI and all these different softwares and stuff that you have at your fingertips. But I think, I feel like there's a theme now, right? Like it goes back to the simple basic things of like, how do people want to be treated? You want to speak to another person. You want to have some sort of connection. And some people don't. They want to transact and check a box, and that's fine. But I think deep down most people want to have some sort of human connection. And I think, and this is just my personal opinion, but I think to be successful, it becomes difficult as you scale, because um the tendency as you scale is to simplify and automate. So you can tend to lose that sort of human touch through the process as you scale. And so I really do think, moving forward, if you just keep to the basics and keep things simple, like don't overcomplicate it. Just because there's all these fancy programs and stuff out there, like that doesn't mean that you have to do it. So I think, going back to coaches, right? Um, one of my previous coaches that I worked with, he had a great saying that I still use to this day, and I always use it to keep in check when we're kind of building new systems and whatnot. But it's, be easy to do business with. And really that's what it boils down to. Like if you're difficult, if you have a 36-step process for somebody to be able to actually work with you, like that's burdensome. Like nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But if you can keep it simple and have a little bit of a human touch along the way, I really think you're gonna do well, and you're gonna do right by your customers, and they're gonna want to refer you because there's some sort of connection there. Because, right, think back, like, oh, I got a guy, right? Who's oh, can I recommend? Oh yeah, I got a guy. You want somebody saying that they got a guy, and that guy be you. So no matter what industry you're in.
Yeah. And one of the sayings that Brady uses, do you know what it is? Starts with R.
The relationship
Yeah.
is the currency of life.
There you go. And I know he stole it. He didn't create it up. Relationships are the currency of life at the end of the day. And if we're rich in relationship, you can get through anything. And I think that's the fear that I have, or the things I'm excited about as other companies scale. They try to automate things to VAs and try to do everything online, and they lose the relationship, and it opens up a massive opportunity for somebody that is in the city for people. And if I was opening a business, I'd be in a business that's about people more than the product, but I make sure we deliver an excellent product.
Yeah, it's so good.
If someone was interested in learning more about or reaching out to you, what are some places that people can find out more information about your services, what you're doing? Feel free to riff on that for a minute.
Yeah. So just personally to reach out, Facebook, usually the best way. I'm on there, been a little more active. I actually got the little blue official check mark just last week. Yeah. So I don't know. I was told it was probably a good thing to do so somebody else can't take it. But
what is that? Tell me, what is a blue check mark?
Verification?
Yeah, it's like verification that you're official.
Official.
Am I official? I don't know if I have a blue check mark.
I don't think we're there yet.
Oh, I need a tattoo.
Are we doing $450 a month? Yeah.
Well, we don't have to talk about it on air.
Yeah. So Facebook's great. Messenger. And then, I've actually, talking about coaches and how that has poured into my life. I've begun coaching to pour it back into others. So, if you have any if you know somebody who maybe has a business, ideally I'm looking for, I like working with people that have been established for a little bit. Maybe they want to get off the truck or they're off the truck and they're kind of in the sales seat and they're just looking to kind of get to the next level, maybe build something that could potentially be sellable. Like I'm in the process of doing right now. I've got a couple slots open that just have a quick conversation, learn more about your business, and see if it's a good fit. So if you've liked what I had to say so far and maybe would like to connect and learn more, you reach out to me on Facebook. I'm happy to set up a quick meeting and we can chat there.
Yeah. What's that social handle?
It's just Jon Karmazyn, first and last name.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show. And then also saw that you have a page that you're opening called It's not Breakthrough.
It's Barrier Breakthroughs.
Barrier Breakthroughs.
Yep.
And you can also visit Jon there as well. And Josiah, do you have any final questions or anything to wrap it up?
No, I definitely want a second conversation. I feel like this was so good.
Yeah. And I feel like our first interviews were going wide. And then as we build relationships over the years, we want to go deep inside of leadership, marketing, sales, operations, services, and cash flow. And so we believe starting wide and then digging deep is kind of where we're going to be for the next few years. So, Jon, thank you so much for being a guest here on the podcast. And until next time, peace.